Hey guys, welcome back to the video. In today's lesson, we'll be going over weaving basics. But before we get into the project, let's look at some artists. The artist we're looking at is Kayla Matz. She is currently working in Los Angeles, California, and her primarily working with weaving. Here you can see her looming with like 3 colors at once on a fun little guy. Her current work is kind of based on the environment with her Catastrophe collection, which you'll see one of them coming up, just on different natural events going on in the human life. Like the one that I'm going to show y'all is about the fires going on in California. So now that we know her, let's get to the project. When weaving, you need 4 things, one of which is your loom. Here we have just a simple tabletop loom that works perfect for easy beginner patterns, which is what we will work with today. Next, you'll need a shuttle. This is what we will use to weave the weft back and forth in our project. The next thing you'll need is a beater. This is used so you can push up your yarn and get a nice, consistent piece. The last thing you'll need is your yarn. Any yarn will do. Here I have a nice thin yarn that I got from Hobby Lobby, but of course there are many different sizes and thicknesses that will work great for a woven piece. So let's begin with our project. First, we are going to put the warp onto our loom. The warp is a piece of string, or your strings, that go from the top to the bottom. So here I just tied a simple slip knot and I'm going to lace it back and forth. It's super simple, but you want to make sure you don't go too tight or too loose because it will cause issues when weaving. Too tight, it will fold into itself, and too loose, it'll just kind of look limp and not very professional. So here I'm just going to finish it up and we're going to start the weave. So here I have my loom all set up and ready to weave. Here I'm just showing the sped up version of me putting the yarn on the shuttle. This is super important because this is how we will weave the weft. So now that it's all set up, we will begin the weaving process. So now that we have everything set up, it's time to start weaving. So first we're gonna pull off a little bit of yarn. We're gonna leave about a 4-inch tail or so. We're gonna use a basic 1-2 pattern, but there are many patterns you can use. Like you can see it a lot in your clothing. One pattern that I know for sure is the twill pattern in your jeans, which is a 4-string pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4-string pattern, but today we're just going to use 2 strings, which is basically an over-under passage. So here we're going. So I'm going over, under, over, under, over, under. I'm just going to keep going that way. Here it fell off my loom, but that's okay. You're just going to put it back on and keep on working. That persistence. So here I'm just finishing up the first pass and pulling it through, remembering to leave that tail. Gosh, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, here we are bringing our beater up to push the yarn up to get that nice the consistency in the woven pattern. So here I'm going again through to do another pass through. But since we went over under, we're gonna go under over for this one. This way you get that alternating pattern. If you went the same way that you did on the first one, it'd pop right off. You'd undo your work and that's never good. So here it just got through, and then I'm gonna bring, see here I'm pulling too tight, which is causing the warp to fold in on itself, and that's something you don't want to do. Again, taking my beater and pushing it up to get that nice consistency again. So I skipped forward a little bit here, and I'm just going to show you, you have the string you don't have to worry about the string coming out since it's already woven in. Here I'm going to show you what happens if you go backwards on yourself. This is definitely something that happens a lot. No need to worry about it. Just it'll come out. I would if this happens to you, just pull it all the way out because you don't want to stop in the middle of it because you're gonna get confused. Again, just persist on and go back through it. This happens quite a lot in weaving, but since it's such an easy pattern, you can easily just work your way back up to where you were. Yeah. Again, beating it to make sure it's nice and that consistency. You can't see any of the warp with your weft, and that's something that's really nice in a woven pattern. So here you can see I have about 10 rows or so, but I'm kind of getting tired of this thin string. So I'm gonna switch it out for this new thicker string. So I'm just gonna cut off about another 4-inch piece. We'll go back and cut those down later when we're done, but for now, that'll be good. So I'm gonna move on to this chunkier purple yarn. As you can see, it's on a bobbin instead of the shuttle, because since it's another string to add on, and if you want to work with multiple at once, it's good to have these two different options. But since it's so chunky, I usually like working with it just by the string itself, or have very little on the bobbin, because if you wrap it too much, it gets stuck between the pieces of yarn since you can't really like pull it open. So here I'm just gonna go again with that same pattern we're doing, the over under pattern, but you're gonna get a very different result compared to the thinner yarn, just because of how chunky this yarn is. This is like changing up the yarn during your this phase is really good for exploring and testing out different things. You get to see how it reacts with the warp and how it reacts with the other yarns around it. So now that I got it through here, I'm just gonna pull it through like I did before, and again leaving a like 4-inch tail. Again, you might think it'll come out when you cut it, but you won't since you just weave it through multiple times. And here I'm going to do another pass, but once I'm done with it, it's so much thicker than the thinner yarn that it gives the piece such a different feeling already. Again, this is perfect for exploring and just finding what you like when weaving. So before I finish, I want to use one more type of yarn, and it's this nice, very thick, very chunky yarn. This is going to give the woven piece a whole different thing compared to the other two. Here I'm just going to quickly go through it, and you can already tell that it's giving such a different feel, as you can see the warp through it since it's so large. I'm just going to finish it up and we'll see the final project. So here we have our final project. It came out so well. I took it off the loom, which is kind of difficult, so we'll go over that in a different video. But as you can see, there is just so many textures going on, and this is just really the time where you can explore different things. Using such a basic pattern, you can just try out so many different yarns at the same time and just really get your feel for weaving. So I'm definitely proud with how this came out, and I hope y'all are loving how yours are. Can't wait to see them and hope y'all have enjoyed this video and have a great day.